What's up, team? Homegrown Big coming at you. Sorry about the dark environment. I'm here at work a little bit early. I gotta make good use of my time. Coming back to people asking about videos for nutrition genetics and talking about that a bit more. Check out my videos I've already made. I made one on the genetics of vitamin A conversion. I go into more depth with that. That's a good one. I did another video on the genetics of fat adaptation of Scandinavians and Northern Europeans versus other places in the world. Good one to check out. The next resource I'm going to point you to is Dr. Christopher Masterjohn, Chris Masterjohn, something like that. He is a cholesterol and fats biochemist. He did a great blog for a long time called The Daily Lipid. Still great articles on that. He has been what I would consider one of the social media frontrunners in challenging the cholesterol hypothesis, which is crumbling apart as we speak. And he is actually where I learned about strategene and getting the nutritional testing done. And he has several videos where he goes into depth on some of the genes that are in that test and what to make of them. And I feel like he's already done the work, and he's a good resource to check out. And I'm not going to waste either of our times on that. His videos sometimes are a little dry and academic, but he definitely does a fair job at explaining things for the lay person, and I recommend his channel in general. He is a failed vegetarian himself. Many years ago, I'm not sure if he went vegan, but he definitely tried the vegetarian route, and he had a lot of brain problems with it, and from anxiety to just brain fog and other health issues. And lo and behold, when he got his strategene test done, he had just as many variations and mutations in nutrition genes that would make him ill-adapted for veganism as I did, and as most people who are of Northern European descent will find. In my opinion, that's the likelihood. Most Northern European people will find this to be difficult. Which leads me to a little bit of response in Moon and Rock. I mean, I know I'm a little slow on the bandwagon for doing a response video, and this isn't really much of a response video, but, you know, I have noticed that Evan has not looked that great for the past couple of years, and I honestly think his ongoing fasting and trying out new things in heavy supplementation was a last-ditch effort to feel better on the vegan diet. And he had been vegan for about 10 years, which is typical for somebody who's really dedicated to it. Other people will normally, bail out somewhere around the 4 to 7 year mark and not drag it out, but he wasn't against supplementation, and I know he experimented with a lot of different ways trying to find the one that worked for him. And maybe that kept him in the game for a while, the heavy supplementation, and maybe, the OMAD in the end ended up bringing him out of it, because you're already dealing with a marginalized diet, and then to only eat once a day can marginalize that nutrition even further, and especially if you're putting that at the end of a long time of depletion. So not surprised, but look at these two. Look at these bright blue-eyed, blonde-haired babies. Where do these two come from? Where do their ancestors come from? Not the jungles, not Hawaii, not anywhere where there's sun all day long. These are people who genetically are derived. They say some of the first blonde-haired, blue-eyed people supposedly came out of Sweden, but we'll just say Northern Europe. And that there's some people that argue that it was sexually selected for, that people liked the look of it, and others are still arguing that it was an adaptation to low sunlight to helping produce better vitamin D results. Either way, this is a Northern European variation, and I would guarantee if they did their genetic testing that they would find some variations in their genes that do not make them well adapted for plant-based diets. And actually, it's pretty commendable that Evan made it as long as 10 years. And I think that he only did that because he was young, and had good nutrient stores from his youth. He seems to come from a very good family, and from a very regionally a good area with a lot of high quality food. So I would guess that he had good nutrition stores and to begin with. So not surprised, again, go back to your genetics, your heritage. Northern European people are probably not going to do well in these kind of diets. Maybe if your ancestors were Northern European and they were somehow highly marginalized, like feudal serfs that grew grains for the kings, and somehow their families survived off of the meager leftovers, yeah, maybe. But even then, those people were still making broths and having dairy and sort of the marginal animal products. So that's even a far stretch in my opinion. So Carnivore January. I don't normally get into these kind of hype things. That's not my style, but if you have followed me for a while, you know that every January I have gone raw. Or I have done some sort of January cleanse or what have you, just refocus after the holidays. I've always been a little loose around the holidays. Just if I was vegan, it was vegan treats. If I wasn't, it was whatever. And I just believe coming together with friends and family, the last thing that I want to do is drag my training and dogma into the fun. I want to relax a little during the holidays and enjoy my people. And so January's not really about resolutions for me, as it's just about returning to my normal and being real strict with it. So this January, I've decided that I'm going to go and do the carnivore. I'm not going to go 100% carnivore. I'm going to do like 80-20 hyper carnivore. And I'm happy to announce that I'm getting my mother into this, and I might do a little bit of talking about her results and maybe talking to her just a little bit about that. My mother is like a Reiki master lady, very spiritual, and had sort of been falling into this like plant foods are the most spiritual, most high vibrational foods kind of mindset, and eating less and less animal products, and even went and saw Dr. Campbell speak at a longevity lecture in upstate New York. Anyhow, my genetics come from my mother, and so I decided to get her into this genetic testing, and then I'm going to show her what her results are for the Stratagene as well. And she has agreed to go on a keto reboot for January. I think she has a bit of a history of mixing too many carbs and fats together, and maybe a little bit too much alcohol from time to time as well, as the merriment dictates. So she's going to do that. My brother's been doing it, and he's been doing extremely good. My whole family's doing the genetic testing, and I'm going to talk more about those results. But let's take a quick look at what I'm going to be eating. Starting this week, I'll be easing into it, and then January, we'll be going full board. This is what I've got in my freezer in my house now, and I will end the video with this. And then next week, I am going to a new local butcher that I found that has all kinds of wild game. So he brings in elk and deer and stuff from hunters, rabbits. He imports stuff from other states, like exotic stuff like alligator and so on. I'm going to go there, and I'm going to stock up a bit there as well to add to my stores for the next month. And then I'm going to get back into training. I've sort of let off the guns on training because work got really heavy. I was putting in 12, 14-hour days every day during peak season. But now our season's starting to taper off, and it's time for me to get back to lifting seriously. So check out what I've got here for coming up Carnivore Month. Let me know if you're going to participate or if you'd be interested in it, and what your thoughts are on genetic heritage and diet. Ground beef, more ground beef, pastured butter. We got in here, this is suet. This is pure suet. This is the fat that goes around organ meats. Super healthy. Fats, same thing. Suet. Got another thing of suet here. This is all filled with organ meats. Pork liver, beef stew meat, pork liver. What else we got in here? Lamb liver. I'm gonna pull some of that out. This is beef heart. What else we got in here? Pork liver, soup bones. Oh, I got some now. Marrow bones, some roast, some nice rib steak, all kind of different cuts in here. Same thing here, all kinds of tenderloin, good for tartare, beef New York, some more ground beef, some more roast. This is some frozen persimmon puree, more rib steak. This is what I got here. It's a full pig head, everything, eyes, skull, some pork brains, full pig head, pastured, $15, good price.